This is going to be an important video, and I'll explain exactly why. So Trump just held a random presser in New York City after appealing the verdict in the E. Carroll case, where a jury determined that he had sexually assaulted her. And it won't be surprising to you that the presser was a mess. We will cover that. But I think it's very important that we compare Donald Trump's campaign, his words, with VP Harris's words. She has been calling into news stations. She's been doing more interviews. And sometimes I worry that we cover Trump too much because he is an absolute train wreck without boosting VP Harris's Democratic message. So she boosts her economic message perfectly, and I want to break this all down without wasting any of your time. All that I ask is that you leave a like on the video to help boost our message, and that you subscribe to the Mockler channel. In this first clip, Donald Trump is honestly just ranting about E. Carroll. Listen.
And yesterday they're bringing up Russia again, that they've done for years. Never found anything, but they should be looking at China, Iran, lots of other places. I haven't spoken to anybody from Russia in years. They know that, but it's a scam.
Other than the people on your campaign staff that were indicted as Russian agents, and all of these influencers that Donald Trump has sat down and done interviews with. But if he thinks that he repeats words over and over, Russia, that'll make the words true or ring true somehow. Also, this comes in stark contrast to how Donald Trump was talking about Xi Jinping yesterday. He said China, but listen.
I had a great relationship with President Xi of China. Really very close relationship. Now look, he likes China, I like us, so, but I don't want to sound foolish. He was my dear friend. He's a tough guy, he's a fierce person.
The interesting thing about Donald Trump, the way that he talks about foreign leaders, is that he'll say that Xi Jinping was a dear friend, an interesting person, a smart guy, but Justin Trudeau is a low IQ person who is terrible. He's just so inherently anti-democratic that it bleeds out whenever he gives a speech. Here is VP Kamala Harris actually being a normal human being. I think it's important that we promote this.
First of all, it is putting more money in the pockets of middle-class people, and I come from a middle-class background, unlike my opponent, who had a rich daddy who helped him start his career, and then he went bankrupt multiple times. I come from a middle-class background, raised by a working mother who put all of her hard work into me and my sister Maya. But I will tell you, the tax issue is really pretty basic for me. The billionaires and the biggest corporations can afford to pay more, and they've got to pay their fair share. And that's one of the ways that I will address what we need to do to make sure that everyone is carrying their weight. And my plans, and the economists have talked about my plans, my plans will actually reduce the deficit by $1 trillion, as compared to my opponent, who could keep, because he gives tax breaks to the richest people, contributing to the deficit and not helping the middle class, because, of course, teachers and nurses and firefighters should not be paying more in taxes than the richest people in our country.
Donald Trump will call that Marxism and socialism and communism, but I call that pragmatic policy. VP Harris just laid out a step-by-step plan. She talked about how we can help people in this country and reduce the deficit, which comes in stark contrast to how Donald Trump talks. While I was listening to that clip, I was shooting off text to my MAGA friends of a link to this clip so they can listen to what a normal politician sounds like, somebody who has a forward-looking vision. And I like how she's able to pull from her own life experiences. She talks about her mother, how her mother raised her on a shoestring budget. And again, Donald Trump doesn't have any of these experiences that he can build policies off of. This brings us back to Donald Trump attacking E. Carroll and suggesting that she's lying in court, suggesting that she's lying. Remember, he said multiple times he didn't even know who she was after he's been seen with her. Just listen.
It was a setup, a rigged deal. They had two witnesses. And before I start, I have no idea who this woman is. They have a picture from, they say, about 40 years ago, a picture. And the picture depicts her and her husband on a celebrity line where I was the celebrity. Been a celebrity for a long time.
This man is beyond parody at this point. It's actually disgusting.
And they were shaking my hands along with hundreds of other people. Nobody even knows where it is. The problem is she doesn't know the date of this incident. She doesn't know when. She doesn't know, was it in the 90s? Could it have been further than that? She has no idea when. And people do that because you don't want to give a specific date, and then you find out that Trump or whoever it was in Europe. So they tend to do that. They take long periods so that this way, hopefully he was in New York at...
A jury of Donald Trump's peers determined that he did sexually assault her. Notice the accordion hands throughout all of this, and Donald Trump is just beyond parody at this point. He's like trapped in a corner, lashing out everything around him, and even though what he's saying is disgusting, it's honestly kind of nice to see him on the defense throughout this entire election cycle, because something about Hillary Clinton back in 2016, she was on defense her entire campaign. Every time Donald Trump would come up with a nickname or a random lie, which he does a lot, she would try to debunk that and try to appeal to rationality, thinking that most people would appreciate that. But now Donald Trump is the one who's on the defense. Hillary Clinton's strategy obviously didn't work, and Donald Trump's strategy hopefully won't in the same way. This brings us back to VP Harris, a normal human being who, again, can pull from her lived experiences and as an American who struggled at one point or another and put that into policy.
Listen, I think that it's time to move forward and to chart a new way forward. And we need to turn the page on this Trump era. You know, this person who has talked about how immigrants poison the blood of America. This person who seeks to divide our nation, belittling people, belittling members of the military, for goodness sake. We need to have a leader and a president who understands the ambitions and the dreams and the hopes and the prayers of the people, and then goes to where that is to help meet those ambitions and those dreams. That's the kind of vice president I've been. That's the kind of president I will be. And I think that's what the American people want right now, is a leader who actually understands the sign of strength is not based on who you beat down. It's based on who you lift up and bringing the country together so we can get on with doing the good and important work that people really want to do every day.
That gave me chills. That is the message that we have been missing. Donald Trump says immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country, but true leadership isn't about division or spreading hate and fear. It's about uplifting certain communities that need to be uplifted, and VP Harris knows how to do that, which is why this article makes me so happy. Harris raised $361 million in August, but it's not even the monetary number that's like the massive part. It's from 3 million donors, or nearly 3 million donors. So this is a grassroots campaign. Donald Trump is relying on billionaires to fund his campaign, on probably Russians. Well, not Donald Trump. The people below him are relying on Russians. But Kamala Harris is being funded by grassroots Americans. Vice President Kamala Harris raised well more than double what former President Donald Trump took in from donors in August, her campaign announced Friday, saying it raised $361 million from nearly 3 million donors in her first full month as a candidate. Trump's team had announced Wednesday he brought in $130 million over the same period. Harris's team said it ended the month with $404 million on hand for the final sprint, $109 million more than Trump's campaign said it had at the end of August. The massive Harris war chest is being used to fund a $370 million paid media effort for the final 2 months of the campaign, and to pay for its more than 2,000 field staff spread throughout more than 310 offices in battleground states. She even had enough money to divert it to down-ballot races so we can win the House and the Senate, while Donald Trump is taking money from down-ballot races to pay his legal fees. That is the difference between these two candidates. That is the point of this entire video. Thank you.